Have you settled for an unfulfilling life? Have you started to ask yourself, is this all there is after 50? Whew, I have been there too. But I'm here to give you hope because midlife doesn't have to be the beginning of the end. It can be your best chapter yet. Today I'm sharing 5 shifts that I had to make to start building the life I love. And they might be exactly what you need right now. When I first became an empty nester, I was excited to finally have that easier schedule. But before long, every day started to look the same. I was running my life on cruise control. Life was happening to me, not necessarily for me. That calmer life was nice, but it quickly became boring. And I got FOMO from watching other people do exciting things on social media. We all know the saying, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So I had to decide to stop living on autopilot. I knew if I wanted life to be exciting again, I had to start creating it instead of waiting for it to happen. And at first, I didn't even really know what I wanted. So I had to create space to think, to dream. I had intentional quiet time in the morning with my coffee to talk to God and to journal my thoughts and to start asking myself, what do I want in this next season of life? What sounds fun? What would get me excited to get out of bed every day? And once I started dreaming things, I started experimenting with taking a little step in that direction. It's great to dream, but if you never take action on those dreams, they're not going to come to fruition. And another thing I knew I needed to do is be the activity director for myself like I had been for my kids. I needed to plan more intentional fun in my day, fun in my week. So I started thinking of what little things brought me joy, what big things. Maybe meeting a friend for coffee or for lunch, going to play pickleball with some new people, going on date nights with my husband Brady, and even bigger things like travel. As empty nesters, we had more freedom to do that, so we leaned into that. And travel certainly gets you out of your comfort zone and helps you experience new things, whether it's traveling by airplane or a road trip to a town nearby. And maybe you felt this too, where you're just drifting, staying busy but not fulfilled. Where do you need to pause and ask God for direction, to start to dream, to start taking action on building that life you love? For me, this dreaming process was just the start. To actually live that life, I needed the energy to follow through. And that's when I realized I needed to make this next shift. This shift was a game changer. I knew if I wanted to live a purpose-driven life, I had to be healthy enough to live it. God had given me this body, and now it was time I take better care of it. This was right about the time when perimenopause hit me like a truck. I had gained over 30 pounds. I was exhausted all the time. My emotions were all over the place, and I was so frustrated with the chaos of changing hormones. So I needed to take it little steps at a time. I shifted from a lot of that processed food to real food. When you're honest with yourself, you know what foods are healthier and which ones are just convenient. You've got to start nourishing your body instead of just entertaining your taste buds. And then I had to be more intentional with exercise. I no longer wanted to work out as punishment or to try to get skinnier. I wanted to enjoy movement and I wanted to work out to get stronger. And then, of course, with the changing hormones, I had to protect my sleep. If I wanted the energy to create this life I love, I had to be very intentional about when my bedtime was, what my nighttime routine was, to set me up for the best chance of a good night's sleep. Once I started putting these new habits in place, and finally found a practitioner that would help me balance my hormones with hormone therapy, that newfound energy was such a gift. It was one of the things I needed to start taking action on those new dreams. And this is exactly what I coach my clients on, how to build these small, doable habits without the overwhelm. This new strength gave me courage. Courage to start stepping out and trying new things. But it didn't go the way I hoped at first. Now, for some reason, I thought I had aged out of being a beginner. I told myself, you don't need to risk embarrassing yourself like that anymore. You know, you feel like you get to a certain age, you've become an expert at a lot of things. People look to you for your wisdom. But the only way to not risk embarrassing yourself at something new or failing is to never try something new. And you know what that is? Boring. So the next shift I had to make was giving myself permission to try new things, to fail, to be a beginner. So I started trying new things. For instance, like this YouTube channel, and what a learning curve it has been. I'm at least 4 years in, and I'm still learning with every video. And then I started leaning into a new hobby. I had played pickleball here and there, mainly with our family, little pickup games, and usually I was the worst one on the court. So I decided I was going to take lessons. I was going to get a little bit better. And that was fun. I did improve my skills a little bit. So I got cocky and I got excited and signed myself and my daughter Lauren up for a pickleball tournament. She plays pickleball every week with some of the guys from her work. She's my competitive athlete. She loves playing pickleball. So I thought her advanced skills would kind of compensate for my beginner skills. But I was wrong. We played in this tournament. The first two women we played were, I would say, late 30s, and they came to win. It took them no time to figure out who the weakest link was and to target me. That game was over very quick. I had to take a deep breath, kind of deal with that humiliation, and then get back into it. The next two teams of women were midlife women. They were a little kinder. They gave me tips, but they still beat us very quickly. This was such a new feeling of being that beginner and losing so badly. But I didn't want to end there. I knew I couldn't let Lauren down, and I knew this was something I wanted to build in my life. Pickleball is a great way to meet people and stay active. Every time I'm playing, I'm learning something new, and it's really getting me excited. So it's okay if you fail. It's just getting back up and trying again. And sometimes that's not going to be the hobby or the thing for you, and it's okay. You learn and move on. God has used these experiences over and over again to remind me that it's okay to look clumsy when you're trying something new. He cares more about our obedience than our perfection. You know the saying, He doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. And that has certainly been true in my life. I've seen time and time again how God uses my failures, my embarrassing moments to build me up for something better down the line. I was way out of my league when I took on the job of our church youth director, but God used it to stretch me and grow me in ways I couldn't have even imagined. Parenting did the same thing for me. I bet you have those stories too. Times when God used those awkward moments, those humbling experiences to grow you stronger. Saying yes to being a beginner didn't just change how I played a game. It changed how I connected with people too. I first became an empty nester in the fall of 2019. It was so fun at first, but then that next spring COVID hit and everything shut down. So I was just focused on my family and it being at home. But after things got back to normal, I realized I was really missing that community and connection that I'd once had. So I needed to be intentional about deepening my relationships I already had and ways to make new friends. Friendships had always come naturally to me back when I was in school because I was in proximity to other people that had similar interests. And then when the girls were growing up, the parents of their friends were natural built-in friends. But now I had to be a little more strategic. The first relationship I worked on was my marriage with Brady. We were going to be enjoying this next season of life. We needed to strengthen our marriage. It was good, but it could definitely have been better. We traveled together. We had date nights together. We had deeper conversations instead of just the logistics of the family. And that relationship grew. My relationship with my daughters had to change. I was less that parent and telling them what to do and became more of a trusted advisor and a friend. And it has been so fun to get to know them as adults. Adult kids are so much fun. I'm lucky enough to have several friends that have lasted over the years, so I really had to be more intentional about reaching out to them. And then I had to figure out how to make new friends. I think it's a challenge in this season of life. As midlife women, I don't know about you, but I have less patience for that surface level small talk. You know, the things that we talked about in the carpool line or at Booster Club. I wanted to get to more deeper conversations, more meaningful relationships. And I didn't know how to start that at first. But luckily, my friend Melanie, who's my best friend from college, she was feeling that too. So we started a group at our church for midlife moms, and we started building what we wanted to be in. We have more intentional conversations. We have that shared faith, and we're doing fun things, volunteering together. And then another thing that I've heard advice from other people about how to make friends, you've got to be where the people are. So I'm starting to make friends at my gym. The same ladies that I sweat next to week, I'm starting to get their phone number and starting to meet up. In pickleball, I have a good friend that we're playing together every week. Put yourself in places where people you'd like to meet are. Maybe it's going to the same coffee shop every week and starting up conversations with people you see there. Maybe it's joining a church group, or maybe it's joining a class at the rec center. It takes a little bravery to put yourself out there, but I promise you it's worth it. Choose connection over busyness, because here's the truth. You can have all the success in the world, but if you don't have people to share it with, it'll feel empty. But none of these shifts would have ever lasted if I didn't have this final one. The final shift I had to make was realizing that God's not done with me yet. And He's not done with you either. I had to think about the legacy I wanted to create, not just for my girls, but for myself, for the years that I still had left. I've always had faith, but I had to lean in a little harder during this season. I really wanted to have God speak into my life, to show me what's next, to find that new purpose. I don't believe we just are given one purpose. We have a purpose for a season, and I wanted to find that next thing. I believe that we are called to be the hands and feet of Jesus. God uses our experiences, our trials, and our passions to help other people. And at first I was asking God, what does that look like for me? What's next for me? And that's exactly why I became a nutrition coach. Because when I was in the throes of perimenopause and my husband was in rheumatoid arthritis, and we finally were praying for the answers, I promised God that if He would show us the way, I promised that I would not keep it a secret. I knew I had to use my experience of getting my health back to help others. And that's why I created my Thrive Method coaching program, to help women not just go through the motions, but to reclaim their health and start living a purpose-driven life. And if you'd like more information, check the description below. So I want you to ask yourself, what is something hard that you've had to overcome? Or something that comes easily to you that's hard for others? God can use that too. Maybe that's where your new purpose lies. This is how I created a life I love after 50, and you can too. And if you feel stuck, I'd love to have you join me in the Thrive Method. But if you're not ready for that yet, go back to the first video in this playlist, how I reinvented myself after 50. You are worth the work to live a life you love.